Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more Katawa Shoujo. So, I believe in the last video where we left off, I think Lily had just come back from her trip. And, yeah, so I guess we're gonna have to see if we're gonna go ahead and make our move. Because I think we, at this point, have acknowledged that we do like each other. So, oh, I think I just clicked start. Mother hecker. Let me... Hello? Okay, let me load. Northern Sojourn. Alright. The morning chill wraps itself around my shivering body. I huff into my cupped hands and desperately try and stave off the cold as we mill about on the station platform. Lily's clothing looks rather ill-suited for the temperature around us. I can only hope it's indicative of what she expects the weather to be like at our destination. Damn it, Lily, why do we have to get here so early? Unfortunately, the train schedule is against us. The next train to Hokkaido is at 2 in the afternoon. Great. Just great. I pause a moment to wipe some sleep out of my eyes, and Lily promptly takes advantage of the opening. Cheer up, Hisao. Once we get there, it'll be much warmer. Why not just take the bullet train? A normal train's gonna take hours just to get us there, so we may as well take this Shinkansen line as far north as it goes, and just switch at the end. There's a certain charm to the older trains, wouldn't you agree? I'd agree if I weren't freezing in the morning cold because we decided to take one. I'm sorry, Hisao. Sorry? What for? I was the one who suggested taking a normal train. Way to make me feel guilty. All I can do is sigh and cover my face with my hand. It's fine. I'm just grumbling. My Hanako. You needn't shoulder all the blame to yourself. Even without your suggestion, I'd still have opted for the same thing. Thankful for the quick interception from Lily, I take a quick gander around the station. Aside from us, the train's platform's all but deserted, the morning dew settling on the empty benches. I guess no one else was masochist enough to brave their very early morning. Though if someone was, they'd more than notice the huge bags both Lily and Hanako brought with them. Just what did you guys have to pack into those things anyway? The bags? She pauses a moment and tilts her head in thought. A change of clothing, raincoat, underwear, sleepwear, a number of books. I think that's most of it. You make it sound as if I'm unprepared. You brought less? Underwear and a pack of cards, that's it. And my pills, but never mind that. No pajamas? Damn, I knew I forgot something. As I ruffle my hair in frustration, Lily sighs. There should be clothes you can use there. Akira still occasionally goes there after all, and I think some of our parents' clothing is still in storage. I don't think there'll be any problem with you borrowing a set of pajamas if need be. Thanks. Still, I don't mind just sleeping in my normal clothing. For 2 days? Good point. Not really. Though 2 days would be borderline, it's more that looking even a little like a slob would be unacceptable while in the presence of 2 girls. As we leisurely talk on the station platform, an announcement sounds from the loudspeakers, loudly heralding our ride's arrival. Looking past Lily and Hanako though, this train's still well out of sight. A quick check of my watch is enough to see that it's the one we'll be taking. The 5:30 train was ours, right? Correct. Either of you want me to take your bags? Mine's not exactly heavy. My, that's very gentlemanly of you, Hisao. Don't accept too reluctantly now. As I bend down to pick up Lily's large bag, I look up to see Hanako picking up hers. You fine with that? A silent nod's the only answer. I'm starting to get the feeling that by the trip's end, I'll be able to count every sentence she said on one hand. Show image. Hey, let's go. Alright, return. With the morning landscape passing by the window and the occasional rattle of the train bumping the carriage around, I try to focus my attention on the aging playing cards held in my hands. I'll raise you 5. She scrunches her face up and leans over to Lily conspiratorially, the two exchanging a few whispered words. Considering how often this has happened so far, I'm coming to doubt Hanako's grasp of how to play poker. It doesn't seem to disturb Lily's reading, though, her hands flitting over each page with only occasional corrections to account for the train's bumping and rocking. My collection of chess pieces that we're using as chips is steadily growing anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. Looking around us, our carriage is almost as empty as the station platform we'd waited for the train itself on. Only a handful of people can be seen, looking mostly like tourists and couples on holiday. While the two continue their less than clandestine strategizing, a small boy looks up the seat and stares at me. Hoping he doesn't begin to stare at Hanako, I simply give him a wave and a smile. Thankfully, he retreats back to his seat after finding me far too boring to waste his attention on.
I'll see you and raise you another 5.
Damn, you got me. I fold. I've been bluffing, and she's caught me. Hanging my head, I push over a large portion of my winnings. Hanako looks absolutely delighted, and even if Lily keeps her attention focused on her reading material, I can see the smirk on her face. They're both extremely pleased. For a moment I try to work out what Lily's reading, but the cover is too faded to read beyond the fact that Roman letters are on it. A pity I can't read the braille above the printed title. What are you reading, Lily? The title looks like it's in English.
That's right. It's And Then There Were None, an old British story. I could read it to you if you'd like.
She extends the offer with a grin, obviously in jest. I think I'll pass, thanks. After a seemingly endless trip, we finally reach the promised land of the Satao summer house. Even after the train trip, the walk up seemed to take forever. Despite my grumblings though, I'd have never guessed the sight would be in store for us once we traveled that long deserted road. It looks more like a farmhouse than the everyday house I'd imagined, small in size and surrounded by trees and bushes. An empty expanse of wheat fields and farming lands can be seen as we walk up, the fencing only consisting of rickety old wooden planks. It really drives home how far we are from the major cities, and is a sight that feels antithetical to the environment I grew up in. The only thing that doesn't surprise me is its western styling. Wow, it's amazing out here.
It's wonderful. That's nice to hear. While Akira may have said that she's kept the house in reasonable condition, I was worried that we might have different standards of reasonable.
It looks like there isn't another sold for miles. I thought Aki would be the type to keep to the city. Lily furrows her brow in thought, seemingly recalling almost forgotten knowledge.
Yeah. From memory, there's a small town not too far ahead. Other than that, though, this is largely just old farmland. Akira and I stayed at our parents' houses, at our parents' house, which was near the city for a while, but after they left, we decided to move into a smaller, more reasonably manageable house.
To find a place like this in Japan nowadays, it's kind of anachronistic.
Well, this town does have quite a bit of history.
I look down the street one last time before getting back to the task at hand. Shall we go in then? I'm parched.
It was a long walk to get here.
Lily gives an enthusiastic nod, the three of us lugging our bags into the house. As soon as we set foot inside, Hanako and I start looking around, taking in every detail of where we'll be staying for the next few days. All the artifacts of another's life stopped mid-motion are around the house, such as the television guide lying beside the counter it was on, and pans in the adjoining kitchen still sitting on the stove. It's a strange feeling, really, as if we're stepping into Akira's life for a brief moment, before leaving in a couple days, just as we'd come. Of course, the more mundane reality is that she just hasn't cleaned up after herself that well. Where should we put our bags?
I'll show Hanako our bedroom. You can put yours here if you'd like.
You men don't have the same bedroom as you two? Hanako flowers into a full blush as Lily takes her cheek in her hand.
Oh my, how bold.
You too. Hold on, if I'm to leave my bags here, then where will I be sleeping?
Well, seeing as we lack a guest bedroom...
The convertible futon, huh?
Sorry, Hisao.
I sigh, lamenting my place on the bottom rung of sleeping location priorities. I guess there's no other choice. Lily leaves to show Hanako to their bedroom, so I take a small tour of my surroundings after I drop my bag on the floor. The kitchen, just like the living rooms, is fairly modest. The rustic nature of the wooden furnishings drives home just how far we are from civilization. Returning to the living room, I decide to try out the television until they get back. With a touch of the remote, it immediately flickers to life, apparently set to a news channel. Almost flopping down from exhaustion rather than just sitting, I lay back and watch. And watch. And watch.
Hisao.
I quickly blink to wake myself up, Lily and Hanako having returned minus their bags. From the Hokkaido night sky visible outside the windows, it looks like I drifted off to sleep. Looking to the wall-mounted clock, it's already 10.
You found the television, then?
Yeah, it really does feel nice and homey here.
I'm glad you like it. You were already out like a light when we came back after unpacking our things, so we didn't have the heart to wake you sooner.
Judging from her giggle, I must sound funny when I sleep. I swiftly decide not to inquire.
There's some dinner waiting for you in the kitchen.
Hanako gives a deep yawn, only just remembering to cover her mouth at the last second.
My, are you tired? I didn't get much sleep last night.
I'm pretty tired too. There's a long walk up here, and it's getting late.
If that's the case, I suppose that we should retire for the night. Good night, Hisao. Good night.
Night. With that, they quietly turn and walk back to their bedroom. Rubbing my eyes, I sigh. I wonder if I'll be able to get back to sleep after being woken up. I suppose I'll eat something and watch some more TV quietly before going to bed. Boo-doo-do, 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 boo-doo-do. Alrighty.
Is he still sleeping? I think so.
I'm not. I am, however, incredibly tired.
It's getting late in the morning.
I know that.
He likely stayed up to watch television. I could hear it from outside our bedroom.
Only because I couldn't get to sleep.
Should we wake him?
Don't do that, Hanako. Please.
No, we should leave him be. I doubt that he'd want to be woken up so early if he didn't get much sleep during the night.
Thank you, Lily.
Besides, he sounds so peaceful. It would be a shame to wake him when he's like this.
Keep a straight face, Isao. It is nice she cares for so... It is nice she cares so much, though.
Hanako, could you go to the fridge and fish out what's needed to make lunch? Alright, just the vegetables and rice? That should be enough. We only need something simple, as we can eat in the town later.
Hanako's footsteps on the carpeted floor can be heard, moving away from the living room. As they do, I feel Lily's hand gently rest on my chest. It takes a titanic effort not to react, but something about her makes me think she knows I'm awake. A long silence passes. The only thought in my mind is of that gentle, outstretched hand laying upon my chest. After an indiscernible amount of time, Lily withdraws her hand.
Good morning, Hisao.
Conceding defeat all too easily, I prop myself up and rub my eyes. How'd you know?
Your breathing was off.
Well, that makes sense. She couldn't have needed that long to work it out. Knowing her hearing, she likely knew before laying her hand on me.
If you want to sleep more, you really should go to bed earlier. I heard the television going long into the night.
Sorry about that. My medications have been interfering with my sleep for a while now. Even if I'm tired, I have trouble sleeping.
I'm sorry for bringing it up, Hisao.
I sigh. This is exactly the kind of thing I wish others wouldn't do. Address it or wave her off. I mean, I kind of feel like just waving it off. Maybe, I don't know actually. I would personally address it just to kind of like show that, hey, I'm open to talking about it. I'm not trying to like hide anything, I suppose, kind of building up trust. So I'm going to go with that one. Come on, you worry about me more than I do at times. It just means I have to sleep a bit longer, that's all.
But still...
I'd say that I look absolutely fine, but I guess that wouldn't have a lot of meaning for you. She gives a sigh of consternation before trailing off with an amused chuckle, giving up the point.
If you say so, please do take care of yourself, Hisao.
Go on. Hanako could use some help. She moves to protest, but reluctantly acquiesces and disappears into the kitchen, her hand running along the smooth white walls as she slowly walks. For a while, I sit and watch television in an attempt to wake myself a little more, but it's futile. I don't have anything better to do, so I follow Lily's lead. As I round the corner, I see Hanako and Lily, backs turned, quietly cutting food on the granite-colored counter. I'm temporarily engrossed as I watch Lily guiding the knife down carefully with a finger on the cabbage she's cutting, each slice delivered slowly but with precision. She seems a little slow, but considering that she can't see what she's doing, it's a small wonder she can cook at all, let alone for both her and Hanako. Hi Hanako, Lily. Want any help?
Is that he? Ah! Oh, morning, Isao.
Lily jerks back in surprise before turning around, her yelp immediately drawing Hanako and me to her side. What's... A small trickle of scarlet falls downward from her pale fingertip, the knife having cut just deep enough to draw blood. With the television sound masking my footsteps, she must not have noticed me coming. To compensate for having to use touch to guide everything she does during cooking, she must need to pay extra attention.
Lily! Don't worry, Hanako. It's just a small wound.
You should still get a band-aid on it, at least until it stops bleeding. The first aid stuff would be in the bathroom, right?
I think so. Will you be okay here, Hanako?
I frown at how little heed she's paying to herself as Hanako gives a quick, almost automatic nod.
It's fine. I can keep making lunch.
An awkward silence reigns as I set the bottle of antiseptic and box of band-aids on the side of the sink, Lily's finger held out for me to treat. The lid of the bottle comes off with a minimum of resistance, and the small ball of cotton I soak in the liquid stains a pale green. Okay, hold still. This'll probably hurt a bit. She gives a small nod as I take hold of her hand to steady it. With all the tenderness I can muster, I gently bring the dampened wad to the small red line. What? Ugh, what was that? What? I barely touched it.
Sorry.
I give a small sigh, both at her reaction and to settle my own nerves. Her pain tolerance is startlingly low. I'll tell you to man up, but I can't really do that. As she gives a small giggle, I take advantage of her momentary distraction and gently press the cotton against her finger a few times. Thankfully, it's enough to do the job. We both settle somewhat as I bring the band-aid over to the tip of her finger, covering the wound while making sure not to get it stuck to her fingernail. There, finished. You can move now. Taking her hand from mine, she gently clasps it in the other.
Thank you.
It's no problem. It's the least I can do after causing you to hurt yourself after all. She lowers her head slightly at the apology, absent-mindedly rubbing her hand in what seems to be embarrassment.
I really don't mind.
Her answer doesn't seem to make much sense, given that what happened is pretty clearly my fault. I can't help grimacing at her, despite the fact that her dainty smile still holds. She must not like being reminded of the limitations her lack of sight imposes on her. It's something I can't possibly fault her for. I've fallen prey to the same kind of feelings before, despite my condition not being nearly as ubiquitous in my life. Neither of us any the happier. We head back to the various smells of cooking food coming from the kitchen. I lay out the plates of food, steam slowly rising from the well-cooked rice and curry dishes, while Hanako lays out the cutlery. Knife one side, fork on the other. Western. How perfectly fitting for someone like Lily. As we take our seats, taking careful heed of the dark red tablecloth hanging below our knees, Lily emerges from the kitchen. In her hands are 3 glasses and a bottle of wine. As I recall our previous run-in with the devilish elixir, I hide my face in my palm. Alcohol? Seriously? She pauses as she reaches the table, a playful grin perched on her face.
Akira specifically gave permission to take a bottle from her collection.
Not only does she give alcohol to minors, she even lets them pilfer their own. The perfect model of a responsible adult, Akira is not. More to the point, though, is that this is hardly a meal deserving of alcohol. I'm starting to think Lily's the type to easily become hooked on things. That's not really the problem. I don't really have any qualms with it, but didn't she have a bad experience with it last time?
Last time was likely due to drinking too much, so a single glass shouldn't prove a problem. But think of it as a learning experience.
I can't recall many learning experiences that made me feel rotten before putting me to sleep. But I'll take your word for it. She dips an uninjured finger inside to feel the liquid level, tip against the bottom as the liquid rise up. The white of her finger almost seems to glow as the sunlight hits it, the delicate outline blurred and refracted by the glass. Her fingers are definitely longer than mine, the kind I'd think more suited to a pianist than a teacher. She'd likely have done well if she'd learned how to play. We quickly dig into our meal, forks and knives clattering against plates. None of us are particularly eager to speak while eating, Lily altogether too reserved for such a thing, Hanako probably too shy to start a conversation, and I too busy savoring the food. Such a pedestrian activity, eating together at a table, but so It seems so utterly normal, yet it makes me realize how long it's been since I've done something like this. Just the three of us, sitting around a single table, eating as if we're a malformed family. Maybe this trip, as far away from everything as we are, was worth it. It takes quite a long time, but eventually we all finish our surprisingly filling meal. The wine, thankfully, has little effect given we've only just had a glass or two. I slump back into my seat, rubbing my stomach contentedly. I'm stuffed. Lily pats her mouth with a napkin. Twice. Only twice, and with evenly timed intervals in between. It's hard to tell sometimes whether how she acts is a well-trained routine or a well-rehearsed act.
I think I must be as well. Did you like it, Hanako? It was nice. Now that we're well fed, shall we be off?
Off? Where?
You weren't privy to the discussion between Hanako and me earlier.
I get the impression that she's having a subtle dig at my sleeping in.
We'll be going to town. We'll be going into the town nearby.
I guess I should have expected two girls to take a holiday as an excuse to go shopping, no matter where on the planet they might be. I am interested to see more around the north, though, so this can only be a good thing. Sounds good. How long's the walk-in, then?
It's supposed to be around 1 mile to 1.5 miles.
Nearby, huh? Great. Just great. As we climb up the path surrounded by trees and undergrowth, I watch Lily and Hanako walking ahead. The slight breeze all but whisks away the sound of Lily's cane gently tapping on the ground. I notice that Lily's since removed the band-aid now that the bleeding of her finger has stopped. A deep, lung-filled breath of the fresh country air makes me wish all the harder that the air around home had been quite so clean. It can't have been half a mile, but I'm already starting to work up a sweat. It isn't a pleasantly cool day, though, so I shouldn't be too hard on myself for it. Hey, Lily, how well do you know this town anyway?
Since I spent quite a few of my vacations here up until I entered Yamaku, I'd say I know it fairly well. We used to drive there once a weekend then.
How I wish Akira was here to drive us now. I quickly take a moment to rub my hands a couple times, staving off the oddly cold feeling in them. Do you like it up here, then?
I'd say it was nice during winter, but as you can work out, summers get a little too hot for comfort. It's nice and quiet, at least. My family's real house is quite far south. When they left Japan, my parents gave it to Akira and me. Only Akira lives there now after my moving to Yamaku.
Well, quiet certainly does describe the place. Though lonely is how I'd put it. Other than the prophesized small town, there isn't another soul for miles around. Coming from a home nestled deep within the big city, it's certainly different. I think that if I'd not come to Yamaku, staying out in the country like this would be too much of a change to get used to. After getting accustomed to the school's isolation, though, the idea of living in a place such as this has become almost inviting. To be somewhere far away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolitan areas.
So, Hisao, have you been to Hokkaido before?
Nah, I used to live down south and we never had any field trips or holidays up this far.
Well, it's a new experience for you then.
Yeah, it is. I'm surprised at how nice it feels here. How about you, Hanako? She shakes her head from side to side.
It's my first time too.
As we continue walking, I begin to feel pins and needles in my legs. It's a little disturbing, given there's no reason for it to be happening. Could you two hold on a moment? I just need to...
Is anything wrong?
Nah, I've just got pins and needles in... My vocal cords suddenly become taut as my chest tightens instantaneously. I quickly pull my upper arm over it, trying to quell the shout of pain spreading throughout my entire body.
Hisao?
Lily's face is only mildly concerned, not knowing the sight which Hanako's recoiling from. I'm fine. I'm... fine. Just... tired. I remove my arm from my chest and force myself to begin walking again. It's just a minor heart flutter, so it'll pass like all the others. It only takes a couple of steps before my body violently revolts against me, my legs suddenly beginning to give way from under me, all of the tension in my knees seeming to evaporate. Before I can react, they uselessly give way under my weight, leaving me only just enough time to brace myself and fall onto all fours. Damn. As I look up to her, I realize my face is still taut with pain, only adding that much more to her worrying.
Hisao? Hanako, tell me what's wrong. Hanako, tell me!
Hanako quickly moves to my side as Lily almost panics, having little clue as to exactly how bad a condition I'm in. While she stands there petrified, I lower my face and take a deep breath. I come to a realization that makes me endlessly irritated with my stupid self. With all the excitement of my new surroundings, I'd entirely neglected to take my medications last night, or even this morning. Oh, we forgore. Taking another breath, the acute pain in my chest begins to die down as suddenly as it arrived. Thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. As it does, I become acutely aware of the sweat by now pouring off my face and the two scared girls around me.
Hisao!
I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. I screw up my brow in an effort to lever myself up, Hanako's arms quickly moving to catch me if I fall as I stumble a bit before regaining my balance. I look to Lily and Hanako, worry written on both of their faces. I feel awful. Utterly awful.
I think we should go back.
Realizing the futility of my protesting, I look away in frustration. Fine. Damn. I do kind of like that, though, because this is the first time that our heart murmur, I think that's what it is, or our illness has actually, like, been so prominent throughout all of the other routes. You know, Emi's route and Hanako's route, it was never as prominent as this. I open my eyes groggily, completely bereft of energy. For a while, I simply lie down lifelessly, staring at the ceiling as I review the events of the morning in an attempt to organize my thoughts. We went to walk in town. My heart nearly gave way. We came back. I took my pills. I slept. I can only remember each period of time as a snapshot, but the timeline is clear enough. The memory of the girls' faces as I struggled to stand is an unpleasant one, stinging my feelings harshly. If I look at the ceiling hard enough, I can imagine the tile edges and small dimples of the ceiling in the hospital. That fact alone is enough to make me sit up and try to pull myself together. I scratch the back of my disheveled hair, glancing around the room. Lily and Hanako are nowhere to be seen, and the television's turned off. The clock above it says it's pretty late in the afternoon. The noticeably reddened sky outside the windows confirms it further. I turn and pick myself off the futon, swaying slightly as I put my arms out for balance. I suppose I'd better go look for the girls to see if they're all right. As I look out the window, I faintly see something in the distance. Straining my eyes, I can just make out the shape of a person's figure. Her long blonde hair, swaying in the faint breeze, makes her almost seem to melt into the bright yellow of the Wheatfield. Without a second thought, I leave the room to that lone apparition. The brightness of the setting sun assaults my freshly woken eyes, forcing me to avert them until they adjust. The long yellow strands of wheat brush against my legs as I wad through them, the densely grown field making it hard to advance. Regardless, my eyes stay fixed ahead, true to that solitary figure. Within minutes, I reach her. Meters behind her, turned back. Lily? She simply nods. Where's Hanako?
She's in bed. She went to sleep after I calmed her down.
She says it matter-of-factly, and with as few words as possible, as if saying any more was strictly forbidden. There's something different about her. Her normally confident figure seems oddly fragile, her body offering no resistance to the breeze that's blowing her skirt. The strands of wheat sway from side to side while a deafening pause passes, the only sound being their rustling. As we stand in the wheat field alone, I know what I have to ask. What's wrong, Lily? You're not acting like you usually do.
Remember when I talked with my family, Hisao?
Your family? I look downwards in my thought, sifting through my scattered memories. The event seems to leap ready to hand when I search for it, rising to the surface as soon as it was recalled. After Hanako's birthday party? She gives a single, simple nod.
It was nice, back then. You and I celebrating with Hanako. Simply sharing presents, talking, having fun together. It was almost as if we were a family. One small, misshapen family. I thought that it could just go on forever. Just the three of us, happily together.
She takes a long breath, a slight shakiness to it just barely audible through the moving air. Oops, sorry about that.
Even if my family was so far away, as long as we were together, That was all I needed. I don't want to lose you, Hisao. I didn't even realize how afraid I was of losing someone else until today. Until...
I'm sorry, Lily. I know my body's weak, but even then I make the most stupid of mistakes.
Don't apologize. Please don't apologize.
Lily? She turns to face me, her pale cheeks stained with tears. One misguided step after another, she stumbles towards me, her arms held out in search of so much as a faint brush against me. My heart doesn't race nor pound as I step towards Lily, gently taking and steadying her in my arms as she quickly clutches to me, sobbing. With her face trembling against my shoulder, the next words from her mouth are the last I expected.
I love you, Hisao. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Don't go away, I beg of you. Never ever go away. I love you, so please.
So, that's why she's been acting like this. That tender voice when I called her thoughtless concern at the slightest pain I might feel. After having been left in Japan without her family, and with only Akira, Hanako, and me around, she was afraid of losing yet another person who was close to her. She was genuinely worried for me. It's a strange feeling, a mix of surprise and sorrow, yet also of the deepest gratitude I think I've ever felt. The only reaction I can muster among my conflicting emotions is a calm sigh. You idiot.
Hisao?
For a fleeting moment, I feel her body become still. The only movement to be felt is the calm afternoon breeze. I said it before, didn't I? It's only natural to feel concerned about those around you. I'm still here, and I'll always be here, because I want to see you more each day, to share in your happiness, to support you in your sadness. But most of all, I'll still be here because I want to see your smile, your true smile. A single gust of wind rustles the long strands of wheat. A second silence passes. Smile when you want to smile. Cry when you want to cry. I love you, Lily, so you don't have to hold back anymore. With that, her arms clutch my back as tightly as she can, her face buried beside mine. Her tears fall down my back as she cries unrestrained as the last of her resistance melt away.
Hisao! Hisao! Hisao!
I close my eyes and bring my head down to her shoulder, holding her shaking frame tightly. It's okay, Lily. I'll never go away. I promise. We slowly walk back to the house, holding each other tightly as we take a seat inside. Lily leans her head onto my shoulder as I put my arm around her waist. Neither of us has any want to break the silence. With her eyes shut, it's hard to work out whether she's fallen asleep. Not that I mind. The warmth of her body leaning against me, the softness of her hand delicately held in mine. For a long, long time we sit leaning against one another, sharing our warmth and feelings as night eventually begins to settle in. Lily's gentle, soft voice ends the silence.
Thank you, Hisao.
Thank you?
For returning my feelings.
Did you think I wouldn't?
There was the possibility.
I took a deep breath and thought that much was only my fault. It's funny, actually. I was thinking of telling you about my own feelings sometime soon. I guess in that way you saved me the effort. She raises her head a little and gives a tiny amused giggle. I smile at how earnest she is, so girlish in its lightness. She collects herself soon afterward, her hair rustling against my shoulder. Feeling a bit better? She gives a small nod.
You are thoughtful, Hisao. That's why I like you.
I'm sorry I'm like this. As much as I didn't want to make you concerned for me, I couldn't do anything to prevent it.
Don't apologize for it. Please don't.
Lily?
Have I ever apologized for my blindness? Even once? You can't help the way you were born, Hisao. There's no point in apologizing for who you are.
She says this with surprising conviction. In the end, it was perhaps this mentality which spurred her to befriend me in such a short time, in addition to her motherly instincts. She did seem to become trusting very quickly, but I never questioned why. Now it seems obvious that she did so to help me as I went through one of the lowest points of my life. I moved to respond, but cut myself off as I feel her fingers run gently through my hair. I feel their soft and delicate touch moving downwards to trace the contours of my face, her palm finally settling on my cheek.
You are a beautiful person, Hisao. Please, don't ever apologize for that.
For a moment, I'm utterly speechless. I slowly bend my head down, placing a tender kiss on her light, voluminous hair. We're a couple of right old fools, aren't we?
We are.
After a long calm, she speaks again.
Hisao?
Yes?
I wouldn't mind if you...
I feel her hand tensing under mine, trembling slightly. My mouth opens, but try as I might, I can't formulate a response to her proposition. Lily. Before I can say another word, she slips her hand from under mine and tenderly holds the side of my face once more.
Please.
I give a peaceful smile, holding her hand against my cheek as I nod a single time. Okay. As I look into her eyes, she leans towards me. Her delicate lips touch mine as she guides herself with her hand. She breaks off not a second later, faintly smiling.
I love you, Hisao.
We kiss again, this time with both of us meeting the other. While the previous kiss was one of love, this one of lust, our tongues meeting and our breathing heavy. After precious seconds we part, both our faces well and truly flushed. Both of us bring our fingers to our lips in unison, recalling that fleeting feeling, rapidly becoming unburied both by our urges and bashfulness. Lily's the first to shift uncomfortably, though. What is it?
Should we get more comfortable?
Okay. Now that she mentions it, this futon would be a bit too narrow to do much on. Considering the thoughts running through both our minds, it's no small wonder one of us has any measure of foresight left. I take her hands and guide her sideways as I move, the brief and awkward dance ending with both of us tentatively sitting on the floor opposite each other. As I reach forward to pull her top up, she stops after she moves her hand to do the same.
You're shaking.
I pause for a moment and look at my hands. Sure enough, they're quivering slightly. Whether it's from nervousness or excitement, I'm not sure. I guess I am.
So you're as nervous as I am, then?
I withdraw my hands and sigh, steadying myself. We have plenty of time, so there's no need to rush this. Sorry, it's my first time, so I'm a bit... She giggles shakily, all but confirming what I reasonably deduced by now.
It's the same for me. I'm happy we could share this together.
I match her smile twofold, leaning forward and taking her body in my arms as she reaches to hug me back. I love you, Lily.
You already said that.
I can't help grinning. Even in such a situation, she still has her wits about her. Breaking our embrace, we decide to take off our own clothing. While it's easier this way, I don't doubt it's just an attempt to distract ourselves from our nerves. With slightly stiff hands, I begin to slide the first button onto my shirt. Once we remove the last of our clothes, which end up haphazardly piled behind us, my breath is taken by the sight in front of me. God damn! Her long, shapely legs, full hips, and her breasts, plump but dainty. Her slightly blushing face, delicate and reserved, is framed by the bangs of her hair. Her hands, slightly held behind her, only serve to further accentuate her chest. Her tall and pale body is beautiful when bared. This girl in front of me, reserved yet playful, astute yet hospitable, is the girl I've fallen in love with. I lean forward, delicately taking her shoulders in my hands. As I do, she brings her hands to my chest. With a slightly uneven breath, we lean into a deep kiss. I feel one of Lily's hands slowly slide up to my shoulder, it and her hand very gently moving forwards. Assuming her intent, I lean back onto the floor. She lowers herself beside me, one hand stroking my hair as the other moves across my chest. The feeling of her breast against it is enough to excite me. This must be her way of taking in what I've already seen of her. Despite her lack of sight, she engraves every detail of my bare body and chest into her mind. When her middle finger falls into the slightest recess of I can't fucking speak. When her middle finger falls into the slight recess of my chest scar, a lingering effect of my operation so many months ago, she slowly runs her hand down its length.
This is...
The scar from my surgery. They had to do this in order to operate on my heart. For a moment, she's lost for words. The idea of such extensive scarring adding a new worry for her. Her expression changes from curiosity to apprehension.
Should we really be doing this kind of thing?
Those words bother me beyond what's rational. Lily's face breaks my heart more than even her words possibly could. Yet I don't even know the answer to her question. I can't let this condition dominate me forever. It may not be medically advisable, but I outright refuse to live my life in such a prison. It's okay, Lily. This much will be okay. Her troubled expression holds for a moment longer, but she eventually acquiesces, her hand moving to my lower chest and then my thigh. With a look of slight surprise, she slowly moves her hands downwards, her breath catching as she brushes down the side of my lower hair. That is such a, weird way to describe that, my lower hair. She tentatively moves her hand sideways, delicately touching the most honest part of my body.
This is...
Yeah. Our nervousness peaks as the act begins, her hand gently patting up and down as slightly as if it would break if breathed upon. Blech. I'm not sure whether it's just to steady myself or because I want to steady her, but I take my free hand and hold the side of her face in it. The feeling of her hair and soft skin is nice, and it seems to lighten her mood a bit. The mere fact that I'm being touched by her is surprisingly erotic. I feel my body relaxing as I submit to the pleasure overwhelming me. Long minutes pass in total silence, our heavy breathing the only sound to be heard in the house. Lily's fingers stop affectionately stroking my hair, and she opens her lips once again.
Hisao.
I wait a second for the rest of the sentence, but none is forthcoming. She may be trying to take the lead, but she's still incredibly nervous. I can't help smiling as I stroke her hair from her face a couple of times, reassuring her. As nervous as she may be, I'm thankful that Lily's taking the lead. I'd probably be just as anxious as she were if I were attending to her. Okay. She pauses a moment before giving a small nod, sitting up and shifting her legs over mine. Once again, my breath is stolen by the magnificent sight of her body over mine. Let's fucking go! I like how Hanako's just sleeping in the room right next to us, and we're just banging in here. I can only look on frozen as she delicately lowers herself, resting her reddened lips over me. She slowly begins to move her hips downwards, her softness enveloping my consciousness. She takes a deep breath to collect herself, her face remaining steady, with her hands taking in my body in lieu of sight. The intimate situation muddles her usual efforts to compensate for lack of eye contact. She gradually lowers herself onto me, her knees and hands supporting her as she does so. Her entire body tenses as I enter, her expression obviously one of stifled pain. Despite that, I can't help savoring the soft, warm feeling enveloping my consciousness, the surge of pleasure overwhelming all my senses. It's kind of interesting how he refers to his man parts as his consciousness. The last vestiges of it all but appear inside her, while her nails slightly scrape into my chest in an effort to stop herself from yelping in pain. A pained moan, too much for her to suppress completely, escapes from her lips. As I open my mouth to comfort her, I see the barely visible red drops from between her legs. Lily, if this is too much... She clenches her mouth tightly, quickly and forcefully shaking her head from side to side in defiance. After a couple of seconds, she relaxes her body slightly, though she's still obviously far from being comfortable.
It's okay. I'm okay.
She swallows hard, trying to collect herself. Lifting herself slowly and bringing herself back down, she relaxes a little more as the feeling of pleasure begins to overtake those of pain. Her breathing starts to match the same ragged patterns as mine, her body moving almost teasingly slow. She looks as if she's slowly beginning to enjoy the act, my feelings finally reaching her. I'm not sure if she's keeping herself at this speed for her sake or for mine, but either way, with this slow and steady pace, I think I can keep my body in check. It's funny in a way that even now I'm depending on her. For us to be joined together like this, our feelings so close, it makes me glad. To be sharing our first moment together like this is an almost overwhelming feeling. I love you, Lily.
Hisao.
I can feel her body tensing, her breathing and movements becoming steadily less carefully controlled. I'm happy to be making her feel so good, but as my thoughts become increasingly focused, I can feel myself rapidly nearing my limit. Control of my body is instantaneously wrested from my mind as I grit my teeth hard, a loud moan escaping as I climax and my hips hit hers. Her body hunches over at the same moment, her breasts touching on my chest. We stay locked in an all-encompassing ecstasy for a few brief moments, my mind completely taken by the feeling for a precious few seconds. It ends all too soon and our bodies collapse in exhaustion, with Lily barely staying on top of me. I lifelessly manage to wrap my arms around her limp, sweating body, and for minutes we simply lay there, silently savoring the contact with each other while we recover from the experience. Neither of us had thought ourselves prepared for such a thing, of that much I'm certain. Entirely drained, far past the point of conversation, I look at her tired face. It looks as if the exertion, both physical and mental, has almost forced her to the verge of collapse. I love you, Lily. She nods weakly, rubbing my hair with her left hand. Excuse me. If we could simply remain together like this for an eternity, it would be a paradise like no other. Alright, I think we're gonna end it there. Let's see, we're gonna go ahead and save. Create new save state. Continue, main menu, yes. Alrighty! We finally did it! We finally did it! Let's fucking go! Oh my god! Wow. I do kind of, it's kind of funny to me how, like, for this scene in particular, it went from like, oh yeah, it was such quick, like, happening of events, you know? 1 second we're like about to have our heart give out on us. We're like falling down on all fours on the road. Next second we're like, oh, this really emotional, dramatic love confession. Oh, it's so wholesome and yada yada yada. And then the next thing we're banging on the floor while Hanako's sleeping in the room next door. Oh, that's fucking great. I gotta say though, we didn't wear a condom, did we? So, I mean, I don't know, man. Because I think in Emi's route and in Hanako's route, it was pretty explicit that we used protection. But in this one, we kind of were just like, you know, we just fucking went for it, I guess. Oh, man. So, clearly we have a lot. We have one more chapter to go, it seems. I'm guessing our little outing here is probably going to be the end of this middle part. Because this is supposed to be the present chapter for Lily, so then I think we still have the future chapter. So yeah, this will be pretty interesting to see what ends up happening with us and Lily. If this is gonna kind of end up like an Emmy thing where we continue to kind of go on with the story. Maybe there's just maybe not exactly something that needs to be resolved quite yet, but maybe more accurately that we're just gonna kind of get some more interaction with her. But yeah. So it is interesting because with Emmys, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, you have sex, and then you have a lot of sex, and you do like anal and shit like that. And then I think at like the very end, again, I still find it weird. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go visit your dead dad. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about your dead father. You know, let's go back to the dorms and bang. With Hanako's, it was like, it was more of like a dramatic thing, I suppose, right? Like, oh, you know, I'm kind of stripping in order to, you know, show my whole self to you, I guess, right? Like, this is me being completely open and completely honest with you. And then with Lily's, it was just fucking, you know, I love you, let's fuck. So, I like it, though. It's good, it's good. So I guess we're a thing now. We are a thing, and I like that. I don't know what else to say. That's gonna be it for this time. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video. If you enjoyed this series or any other videos or series in the wait, what? I messed something up. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this time. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video and tell me in the comment section below what you would like to see me play next. If you enjoyed this video or any of the videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when a new one of those videos comes out. Anyways, that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one.